Hey, this is Robert the Racin-Teach, and we are here with the Tenways AGO X bike, the first one here in the United States. I've actually had this bike now for about 2 weeks. I have been riding it everywhere, road, dirt, gravel, just like this, fire roads, you name it, this bike has been doing it. Now let's talk a little bit about this bike because it's actually got really good positive ride review. I've had some time to really put in on this bike, and so far I'm going to give this thing like 10 thumbs up if I had 10 thumbs, but definitely a thumb up for sure. Now, what makes this bike so cool and what's special? Check out, first thing you got to look at is the color scheme on this thing. It goes from like a matte silver to at black fade. Okay, very nice coloring, got definitely a lot of looks. Every time I took this thing out, everybody said nice bike, nice bike. Definitely is a nice bike, that's for sure. Comes standard with this real heavy duty rack. According to the rack standards, 25 kilograms, capable of holding that, stamped right there on it. Built-in tail light. This headlight is there, turn that right on. You use the power up button to turn the headlight on. That headlight is built into the head tube, so you're always going to have a light for visibility. Now, we'll talk a little bit about how it looks, and the tail light is built into the rack system. The bike comes standard with these fenders, pretty cool looking square taper fenders. Like there's a lot. It went through some water crossings and whatnot, and streams and street and whatever, and stayed pretty dry, so they definitely do their job. Bike comes standard with a Sun Tour XCM32 ATB fork. Now notice it's ATB, all-terrain bike. This is a pretty stout fork, but if you wanted to do some serious mountain biking, I would question the fork. Sun Tour makes a good line of forks, but this bike is really not made for that hardcore cross country or downhill all mountain, mountain bike. This is an all terrain bicycle, but I would stick more with fire roads, gravel roads. You could probably do some, I don't want to say it because someone will probably go out and do it. Stay right within your skill set, but it's definitely a sturdy, stout bike. It comes with a 10-speed Shimano drivetrain, and yes, that is a Dior drivetrain, 10-speed with mega range gearing. It comes with a 29 by 2.25 tire. Tire has minimal tread on it, kind of a little bit of an all-terrain tread. Grips pretty well on the road, rides quiet on the road, grips in the gravel pretty good. If I were going to ride more dirt, I'd definitely air it down. The other thing that's really cool about this bike, and I forgot to even tell you guys, the big thing about this bike that's different from others is it's a mid-drive. It's got the Baofeng mid-drive motor, 80 Newton meters of power. It's got a 504 or 508 watt amp hour battery in it. So this thing is capable, if you're an efficient pedaler, you're easily going to get 60, it says 100 kilometers. I could see it getting close to anywhere between 50 and 60 miles to the charge. Now it depends on a lot of things there. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. It's using a Tektro brake system. And I'll be honest, don't knock the Tektro brake system. It's actually a really good brake system. They've improved, come up a long ways. And I'm impressed. I have them on another mountain bike of mine actually, and I thought I'd be switching them out, but I didn't. The other thing that's really cool is this motor is super efficient. When you don't have power on and you're pedaling, it just feels like a heavy bike you're pedaling around, but there's no drag in this motor. It's very minimal, if any. I'm very sensitive to the amount of drag that these motors put in, and this thing is up there with all the other big names. So let's look at a few other things here. Brass nipples, good solid straight gauge, 14 gauge spokes. It's a real sturdy rim. Both front and rear rims are built sturdy. They're tough. Could they be broken? Of course they can. Anything can be broken. But this thing is made to do its job. comes with a little riser bar. I like that. Just enough, little bit of a rise, not too much sweep back on the angle, so you can really fine tune it, tilt it up. I know a lot of people are going to ask about the stem. Oh, I need an upright stem, I want to crank it up. This does have capabilities, because there's no electronics built into the stem, that you can put an adjustable stem on it if you choose to. It's a standard A het threadless system, 1.8" steer tube into I believe it looks like 31.8 handlebars. Okay. Seat made by Sea Royale. It's a universal, all sexes, universal seat. You may or may not want to change it. Sea Royale makes some good saddles. I think if you get this saddle just right, I think it'll be perfect for you. Quick release, quick adjustments of the seat up and down, makes it universal. Now, this is a size large. I'm 5'11". I have a 33.5" inseam, and let me just tell you that this large is right there. Okay, it's a close fit. The top tube distance is really good for me. I do have a long torso as well, and it's a good fit. I do have a bit of seat out. It's a very comfortable riding bike. I built the bike one night, next day took it out, put about 44 miles into it, straight out of the box. So this thing is a good to go bike. Okay, so now let's get to some of the downsides. There are a couple downsides, but in all reality, this bike is a solid rider. A couple things that bugged me personally as a rider. One, I did not like the seat. That's just my preference. I like narrower seats. I think if I fine tune this, I'll find a happy spot, but it was a problem. This great tail light. I do love the fact the bike comes with a tail light. I wish it was a brake light. And a couple other brands have a brake light built into it. Otherwise, that's about it. And this headlight. It's a great visibility headlight. It's perfect for you to look and be seen. And it throws a square out that's about 10 feet in front of the bike. Problem is, this bike will easily cruise at over 20 miles per hour. Gotten it up to about 21, 22 miles per hour. And it's not enough light. So I think the light, if it could be turned up, and I'm going to play with it and see, there might be some adjustment here. I see a screw there. I might be able to adjust it up. If I can get some throw on the light, I think it'll be perfect. Okay, but otherwise, I think the other thing that could have been done on this bike too is added another water bottle bosses here, so I could run 2 water bottles. It's hot here in SoCal, and that's what you need. The controls are pretty straightforward. Power. So when you go to power the bike on, off and on, basically you press the power button on, top button. This is your power. This is your plus, minus, and your control is a separate piece right here next to the stem. So basically what this does here is you press and hold, turns on. Now the object is press and hold until it turns on. You'd be surprised how many people just press hold and then they say it doesn't work. Now after that, you're supposed to input, you can input a password if you want to secure the bike a little better, but in all honesty, I just left it 0000. Press the power on button 4 times and you get to the main screen. Gives you a clock, mile per hour, how much battery's left, and what power assist level you're on. Gives you a fuel gauge there. You can see that fuel gauge on the bottom. Tells you how far you are from empty. You want to go up in power, boom, press up. Gives you the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 PAS. So there we go. Now, one thing about e-bikes that a lot of people don't do is they throw it into max power and leave it in 1 gear. You need to ride these bikes the way you would a regular bike. You have got 10 wonderful speeds there. You got 10 nice gears, okay? These motors and these batteries would be more efficient and last longer if you actually use those gears. A lot of people just keep it in the high gear and just use the power button to get them up and down things. Well, you actually wear out your chain faster and you wear out the gears faster. So the reality is, switch the gears around and you'd be surprised how much more efficient you will make this bike. You will actually get 60 miles to a charge, or 100 kilometers. But people don't use the gears, and we're trying to educate users, e-bike users. If you have gears on the bike, use them. They're there for a reason. Secondly, I have found the most comfortable gear range to push this bike around in is in Power Assist 2. 2 and 3, but mostly 2 is where I can pretty much cruise about 16 to 17 miles per hour all day long in that gear. And that's really all you need for cruising around town. A lot of times I don't even turn the power on. That's how well this bike actually rides, is I can ride it without having to put that power assist on. Now, with this gearing, that's a big low gear on this bike. You are able to climb, and you are able to climb very efficiently. Now, listen to what I just said, because I know a lot of people have been looking for the bike that's going to help them. This is the bike that will get you up and over those mountains with no problem. However, if you're trying to climb it in 8th gear or 10th gear, which is the smallest one on there, you're going to jam this thing into 5 and hope you make it to the top. You're either going to overload that motor, and you're going to drain a hell of a lot of battery. And I'm just telling you straight out as it is. Sadly, many e-bikers, that is what you do. We need to get you guys going. Shift the gears, use those gears. That's what they're there for. Go to a bike shop, have them show you, have a friend show you, whoever, whatever. If you guys want, I'll make you a video on how to use these gears. But basically, these motors run off of cadence. The more cadence, the faster you're spinning these cranks, the more efficient these motors are. Okay. Something else to know about mid-drives versus hub drive. If you're coming from a hub drive bike, that mid-drive, when you switch gears, it has a dead zone. And the reason why it does that is to save your chain and your gearing. Because if you keep constant power and shift a gear, you are going to snap that chain. Guaranteed. So there's a built-in little safety that when the bike goes to shift a gear, it's got a sensor on it, and it will cut the power for a split second, change the gear, and the power's back. Something else to know about the mid-drive, and this is, like I said, as we've been riding this bike around, I've been riding the heck out of this bike. I learned a lot of its little tricks. I will ride the bike starting with no power. I always start from my house, leaving, cruising down the block, no power. I ride up a little hill with no power. I use the gears. It goes right up like a regular bike. I'm pedaling and I start hitting the power buttons thinking the power is going to kick on. It doesn't. It's a built-in kind of a safety feature in this motor. It's in their software. What you have to do is, if you're pedaling at a good constant RPM and you start doing this, you're not going to feel that power input. What I had to do is actually stop pedaling for a second, shift into whatever power mode I wanted, and the motor kicked in. So I heard some people talking about that with the AGO-T. The AGO-T uses a lot of the same system, uses that same motor, and that's probably the issue you're having, is that you actually need to stop pedaling for a second, then shift into the mode. That's the only time it does it. If I start in power 1 and start pedaling, the motor's already active. Okay, so that's the only little pet peeve I found with it. Otherwise, this bike is solid. This would become my everyday commuter bike. I do a 22 mile, sorry, there's a hot rod going by who thinks he's all that with his loud exhaust. But I'm out here in nature, believe it or not, but not too far from civilization. I would use this every day to go over my 1,000-foot climb to work. I have a 22-mile commute each day. The bike is very comfortable. This rack easily accepts most panniers. I have a set of Ortliebs. It clips on there with no problem. Like I said, use a Rio light, add a bell. We need to have bells to communicate with people. Let them know we're there. The bike is pretty quiet. You hear a little hum of the motor, very little. Don't even notice it really. And it's pretty solid. If you were using this every day, a couple little changes I would make. I would add a little more grip. This is a pretty comfortable grip. It's very low profile. It's got this little metal band on the side right here. Pardon the airplane as it goes by. I am near an airport. I would change these, just my personal preference. I'm I have a particular brand I really like, especially on an e-bike, but these are pretty good. I'm getting used to them. It took me a little while because I like a little thicker grip. The seat, once again, this seat will probably fit most people because I come from a bike racing background and I like a narrower saddle for me, but this is a pretty comfy seat otherwise. Once you get the angles down, you gotta play with the angle. Okay, and the angle can be adjusted down here. They'll screw down here and you can just slide the seat forward and backwards, do all kinds of great stuff. The headlight was the only other thing, and I'll probably buy another real good set of aluminum based pedals. These are a nylon pedal and they'll hold up pretty well, but there's a lot of heft to the bike, and that's one thing I'm going to say. It is a heavy bike. Most e-bikes are on the heavier side. This is good weight distribution on this bike, so you don't really feel the weight once you're riding it. It kind of can be a little heavy as you're walking it around, but you find a balance point on it, as you should with every other bike, and this bike will do everything. Okay, it is a little bit short. It seems short for such a big bike. It kind of looks weird, but it actually rides extremely stable. It's very fast. It maneuvers tight switch turns with no problem. I mean, like, I can get it to carve anywhere I want it to go. It's very easy to handle. Okay, handlebars are wide. You can see that right there. You can cut them down to your required width. It's kind of nice to have a wider bar. You don't need to have them this wide. You can actually adjust these to a proper shoulder width, and there's a bunch of tutorials on how. There's a lot of theories on wide bar versus narrow bars, but from a bike fit perspective, the thing is, you don't want bars that are too wide because it actually causes your rear shoulders to pinch, and it can actually lead to some headaches and other pains in your back. You don't want that. Cutting down the bars, any bike shop can do. You can do it with a hacksaw. I usually cut half an inch at a time to make sure I don't overcut, and there you go. But otherwise, this is a solid mid-drive bike. I believe retail on this thing is $24.99. On my page here, there should be a link. Get a little bit of a break if you go through using that link. There's the first US bike, the AGO X here in the US that I'm aware of. It could be lying to me, I don't know, but I don't think so. I built this out of the box. That first box, it literally came to me in a box. So easy build, easy assembly. The unboxing instructions are already in there, but everything has been pretty solid. And one thing I really do like about mid-drive bikes, and it's my final, and then we're going to call it a night because I'm losing light. It's been so hot here in LA. It's been over 100 degrees. I could only get out here when it's like, 90, which it is right now. Quick release front and rear wheels that come off like a regular bike. So you don't have to deal with wiring to unplug or anything like that. And that's the downside with hub drive bikes, is that you have to unplug the wiring, then you got to deal with the hub. There's a way that the axle fits into the frame. It's got to be a certain way. They're heavy. This is a standard wheel that you could actually replace if you needed to at any bike shop. Okay, chances are you're not going to. The tires are beefy, you air them properly, you're not going to have a problem. They are not set up tubeless, they are running inner tubes. I don't think you can set these up tubeless. I haven't looked at the rims yet. I haven't taken them apart to see if it's possible, but in all honesty, if you're concerned about high duty flats in your area, these tires these are made by I believe these are CST tires. They've got a pretty good Kevlar belt on them. I would run a heavy duty inner tube in it, maybe a little bit of slime, and you're good to go. I think you are gonna fight away some of those evil flats. Unless you run over a screw, a nail, or something big and sharp like a knife, then you're, you're just out of luck. Anyways, thanks for tuning in to the Racin-Teach. This is Robert signing off. Make sure to subscribe, please share, and this company I think is trying to do good. I think they came in with a really good bike at a good price. Most mid-drive bikes of this caliber start about $3,000. $3,500 is what I've seen a bunch for. You're looking at $24.99, and there you go. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody.